You may have heard that women are less likely than men to negotiate at work, whether that's a raise, a promotion, funding for their business, or anything else. 20 years ago, this was true in most parts of the world. But research shows that these gaps have gotten much smaller. In many countries, women now negotiate at the same rate as men. So why aren't we getting what we ask for? It's not because we're bad negotiators. When women negotiate on someone else's behalf, we're just as successful as men. But when we negotiate for ourselves, we tend to get worse results even if we use the exact same approach. For example, we can end up getting paid much less than we ask for, and much less than men in similar roles.
I found out that a coworker of mine, a male coworker, was getting paid more than I, because it wasn't $3,000 or $2,000. It was by a chunk.
I was working with a colleague, and it wasn't until later that I realized there was a $45,000 pay gap between us.
Pay gaps like this happen in part because women face a lot of gender bias in negotiations. First of all, people are more likely to doubt our skills. Second, most cultures still expect women to be selfless and agreeable, which means we often trigger backlash when we advocate for ourselves. Women who ask for raises and promotions are often dismissed as pushy or aggressive. Meanwhile, men who make similar requests are usually rewarded for their assertiveness and initiative. This double standard is infuriating. In the long run, it has to change. But right now, it means that you may need to be really strategic about how you negotiate. It's not fair that women have to do this, but it can go a long way toward getting you the results you want. Start by building a case to support your request. Document positive feedback from clients, colleagues, and customers. That way, you can demonstrate your value when it's time to ask for a raise or renegotiate your prices. Talk to your manager regularly about what you're working on and accomplishing, so your successes stay top of mind. If you work for a company that has formal requirements for promotions, be prepared to explain how you're meeting or exceeding them. If you're negotiating your salary, do some research on the going rate for your role and experience.
Leveraging online resources, even reaching out to folks in your network, just going in with a number and saying, hey, based off of my research, I know that this position pays this much.
Before you head into a negotiation, practice exactly what you want to say. Plan how you'll begin the conversation and make your request, and how you respond to pushback. Then, rehearse the conversation out loud. Research shows that a lot of people skip this last step, but rehearsing how you'll deliver your pitch is really important.
Rehearse over and over and go in with a little bit of a script of what I'm going to ask for, whether that's base salary, bonuses, signing bonuses, PTO.
I prepared myself. So I had a conversation with him. It wasn't really him, it was the mirror, and preparing, okay, what could he say back to me, and making sure that I had an answer back.
As you're practicing, think about how you can state your case in communal terms. Because women are expected to be giving and community-oriented, we often get a better response when we use language like we and our team. For example, rather than saying, I think I deserve a promotion, you could say, it's important that we have a representative from our team in senior leadership.
I always try to use common terms such as we or us or the team rather than I or me. I found out that that's very useful for getting other people to be more empathetic.
It's also important to anchor your case in a shared goal. If your team is accountable for sales, explain how your contributions have driven higher sales numbers. If you're negotiating with an investor, explain how you'd use the extra capital to deliver a higher return. Avoid mentioning personal factors like your financial situation. For the decision maker, this is a business decision, so personal reasons won't resonate as much. Another best practice is to make your request as specific as possible. Research shows that making a specific request leads to better results, even if you don't get exactly what you ask for. If you're negotiating your pricing or salary, for example, say something like, the number I have in mind is X, and aim high. Pick the highest number you think the other person will agree to, and then add 10%. You'll probably be surprised by how often you get exactly what you ask for. Even when you don't, research indicates that you'll still get more than if you'd started with a smaller request. Plus, aiming high will rarely hurt you. For example, it's very unlikely that you'd lose a job opportunity just because you asked for a higher salary. It can actually make people respect you more. since it shows you know your own worth.
Nearly every single job move I've taken, I've negotiated my salary. And in doing so, I've probably increased my salary between 25, even up to 50%.
When it's time to negotiate, trust your preparation. And don't feel like you need to be tentative or apologetic. If you get a no, ask what it would take to get a yes in the next 6 to 12 months. If you get a non-committal response like "we'll see," make a concrete plan to follow up. Remember that you're asking for something you have earned, and that you deserve to be fully recognized and rewarded for your contributions.